But my next guest up is a special treat. He's the author of the new book, Waiting on the Bomb. Let's give it up for Richard Livsey. That's all right, it's all good. Congratulations on your new book,
Thank you.
Waiting for the Bomb. Now listen, why don't you tell us about it? What inspired you to write this?
Well, you know, after 9/11, like many New Yorkers, you know, I was numb for months, and I had a lot to say about 9/11, and I wanted to write something, but I didn't want to just do like a rehashing of the events. I didn't want to do some sensationalized version of how things went down, because we all seen the news footage. We all knew how it went down. Exactly. So I was like, well, how do I write this book? And so I came up with the idea of having a writer as my main character, and his journey would be to write a book about 9/11. Right. And so then I took all the fear and anxiety that I was feeling right after 9/11 and kind of put it into him and had him internalize it. And then I kind of was like, okay, you deal with it.
Fiction, nonfiction?
No, it's totally fiction.
Okay.
And everybody asked me if it's based on me, and it's semi-based on me. I'd say it's like a 70 to 30%, 70% fiction, 30% based on me, real life.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I read it. Well, I read most of it. A lot of my books I read, I give them to my aunt, because I get a load of books from a lot of people. And I have no time to read a million books. I don't lie. I go through them easy. Then they tell me what it's about. But I read the first couple of chapters, and there was a part that I kind of liked. It says, a writer's born or they're made. What do you think?
Well, you know, for the sake of aspiring writers everywhere, I hope they're made, you know, and but actually I do believe they're made. I believe that, you know, if you have passion, drive, motivation, and determination, you can do anything you want in life. Definitely. And that's kind of what this book is about, because my main character, he's never been published. He's not a, he doubts himself. And you know, his whole journey is to, and also he's dealing with writer's block, which is even worse. And his whole journey is to like get over all his fear, doubt, and anxiety, and write this book that's so important to him. And I think that story could translate to anybody or anything. You know, whether you're an actor, you know, a musician, or whatever, salesperson. You know, you can follow through with your dreams and goals.
Now, what's the end result with this book?
It definitely deals with the writing process, and I mean, I wrote this book with writers in mind, and instead of dedicating this book to my wife or my parents, I dedicated this book to writers, but the book, though, 9/11 is always there, like lurking in the background. It's always there, and it's just how he deals with it. And you know, the title, Waiting for the Bomb. You know, a lot of people ask me how I came up with that.
Because that's a tough title.
Yeah, and it's very controversial. And, you know, it's just how I felt after 9/11. Like many people, I just was like, you know, I was reading all these news reports about dirty bombs and briefcase nukes and all this kind of scary stuff. And I kept thinking that, you know, I'm living here in a bullseye. And like I said, I took my fears and I put them into my character. And interestingly, I kind of got over my fears. You know, I don't worry about that now. I don't, you know, there was a point where I wanted to move from New York, and I don't feel that way anymore, you know, out of fear. And I want to move because of the people here, but not because of, you know, terrorists. But
Rich, how soon after the events did you decide that this is what you wanted to do?
I was getting right to a point, right after 9/11, I was in my writing career. I was kind of like to a point where I was getting ready to write a book, and I didn't know what I wanted to write a book about. I'd been writing short stories, and I'd written a lot of nonfiction pieces for magazines and newspapers, but I felt like, okay, I want to write a book. I just didn't know what I wanted to write about. And then 9/11 happened, and I was like, okay, I want to write about this. But then the question was how. Right. And then it took me a while to figure out how to do that. And so it's kind of like a story within a story.
All right, that's what I was asking. Now listen, it's a self-published book. I mean, was that by your choice, or you won a deadline and you had to do that?
I totally self-published this by choice. I did not send it to a single publisher. It isn't like it got rejected.
That's a hard gig, sending it to get a publisher to publish it.
Oh, absolutely.
And then if you get a publisher, most of them, you don't make no money off them.
You could you know, shop it around for a year or so. But I just was like, I believe that we live in the age of the artistic entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm all about doing it yourself, and I wish I would have did this sooner because you know, I wasted a lot of years waiting to get discovered, you know, and I think those days are over. I think if you have talent and you can take the initiative, you know, you can do things on your own, whether you're a musician or anything. And I don't think you should wait, but I do want to stress that if you do self-publish something, or if you do put out your own music or anything, that you make sure you put it out the best it can possibly be. You know, you want it to be quality. You don't want to just rush something out and, you know, it's riddled with typos. And, you know, like I hired editors.
You have to have that because, you know, it just misspelled words.
Yeah.
And everything's all messed up.
Exactly. And I hired editors, proofreaders, and still, even after hiring editors and proofreaders, you know, every now and then someone will tell me, yeah, I read your book. There's a typo on page 134. And I'm like, oh, great. You know?
Listen, even the best books have a typo here and there.
Right, exactly.
The majority of them. Now, you're on your second book right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because your time's almost down.
Yeah, well, I live in Rockaway Beach, and I'm a surfer, and surfing's very important to me. And since this book was so heavy, you know, heavy topic, 9/11, I was like, all right, let me write a book that's, you know, a little lighter. So my next book is going to be about surfing in New York City.
And how do you surf in New York City? We don't even got that many waves.
Believe it or not, today I surfed and the waves were going off because in Rockaway Beach. Because,
oh yeah?
Yeah, because they were like
hurricane coming.
Yeah, hurricane just went past, and I actually almost didn't surf because I was like, okay, because the waves were pretty gnarly, as we say.
Gnarly, yeah.
And
Rich, I used to be a surfboard. Past life. Just want to see if you're still awake out there. You know what I'm saying?
I thought they were sleeping. What are you up?
I'm up. I'm always up. I'm made out of wood. Hello.
He was looking at me. He was getting me nervous.
No, this is sleep. All right, stay that way.
Speaking of surfing, I got a friend, my friend Brent LeBurn, a good friend of mine I met years ago. He lives in Santa Monica. That's all he does is surf. But he said there's supposed to be like crazy waves now coming in. Like I think yesterday,
oh,
like
okay.
40 or 50-foot waves.
Wow.
A couple of guys got killed out there,
in
supposedly, in Santa Monica, like beginning of the week.
Well, our waves don't get that big out
The guy
here
had
in
a heart
Rockaway.
attack.
You know, they're not that big here, but definitely get some size. Like it was so big today. I mean, I was like 6 to 8 foot today, and I didn't want to paddle out because my thought was if I get hurt, I'm gonna miss my TV appearance on the Johnny P show.
Your daddy was busting my chops. I booked him about 9 months ago. Right?
But then I was like, the waves look so good. I was like, all right, screw it. I was like, I'm just gonna go out there, you know.
Just one.
Yeah.
Now, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on Facebook, Richard Livsey, and also Waiting for the Bomb.
After, we're gonna pick some numbers, and some of you guys could go home with a book. So, Richard, come back anytime
Thank
when
you.
your next
Thanks
book comes
so much.
out.
Thank you. Definitely.
Best of luck.
You.
Richard Livsey, everybody.